Okay, and thank you for keeping on the mask. I'll put mine on right after I'm finished here. So, welcome to this exhibition. Welcome, Mark. So Mark van Wageningen, also known as Novo Typo, is an Amsterdam-based graphic designer and typographer. And he's best known for his unorthodox typographic research in color typography and his development of multi-layered chromatic typefaces, whereby he worked both digitally and in book form, and he's always happy about inviting kind of the happy accident into his work in this combination of digital and analog. His book Color and Type from 2019, which you will also find in the back, which was published in German and also in English and Chinese. Offers a detailed insight into his really vast research into this design process of multicolored typography. Then came the pandemic and its lockdown measures, and Mark decided to react on this new situation. And I must say, I'm always really grateful to hear, situations in which this really complicated time has also been somehow the inspiration or something that kind of triggered new ideas and new projects. And what Mark developed is a practice named Offgrid, and focusing on the graphic design process as a self-supporting and self-sufficient production process. His central question was like, can you do your job completely independently of other parties if an international distribution system of services and goods comes to a standstill? Which is kind of what we faced in parts in the last months, especially at the beginning of the pandemic. I'll leave the answering of this question to Mark in his talk. I will not do this now. Where he will offer his kind of proposition of actually becoming a self-sufficient graphic designer. At that point, I just want to add how impressed I was when Mark and his wife Nele arrived 2 days ago in a rather small car, and literally everything you see here, tables, shelves, ingredients, paper, presses, vats, plus boxes full of paper, books, and all their personal stuff, they managed to put into a really, really small car. Not really small, but a rather small car. And I really like the idea. I was thinking even that is going another step with the self-sufficient graphic design studio, that literally you have your whole production facilities and you can put them in a car and just bring them wherever you go. So I felt that was really a nice illustration of how self-sufficient you literally have become, even in the way to move around. All his last findings and his experiments on Offgrid, of Novo Typo Offgrid, he has selected and compiled in a book that is now, I don't have a copy here, someone can maybe hold it up. And it is that. And this today is also the release of this book. So this is literally fresh off the press and partly also of the hand printing press. And we actually have it here for the exhibition at a special price of €30 instead of 35. That will be later in the book. So have a look. It's really beautifully produced. It's not just the amazing content in Mark's research, but it's also really incredibly made. What Mark will offer during his exhibition here is that he actually set up his workspace. As I say, he brought everything that he needs to work, to make paper, to make ink, to print, and even to make soap. We'll talk about that. And he will be staying for 3 weeks. He'll be operating this space. He'll be here. So on our regular opening times on Thursdays, people can come, watch, talk, exchange ideas, etc. And on top of that, he's also offering workshops. Some of you might have read about that. I don't know, some of you might have even signed up to one. I know there's, one place left on Saturday and 1 or 2 left in the other workshops. So if anyone is interested, be quick. And so he will actually share his knowledge on how to make printing ink and paper from natural ingredients, how to print with it. And what I really like about it also is like after all these months of digital formats that we'll finally get our hands dirty again. So that's amazing. And since Mark is aware even of that, part of the workshop will even be to produce your own soap. So to kind of clean those finally dirty hands again. So I also want to thank everybody who's helping always, like Johanna, Jens, Anushka, Anton today at the bar, Nele who's here, and of course many thanks to Mark for coming, for being here, for sharing all your knowledge.
Okay.
And I'm looking forward to your talk.
Okay. So I can take one more?
Yes.
Okay.
And afterwards stay, mingle, there will be wine and drinks, so looking forward.
Okay. I will start.
More. Super.
Let's start because I have 290 slides. And
Okay.
so we will do this.
Okay,
very
and I put my
first.
mask on again. And Anushka, do you want to switch off the lights here?
Okay, well, first I have to say, like, the colors are not really like that, but we will handle this. So I will start with a small introduction about my work, because I work on the name of Novo Typo. It's mainly because, like, Mark van Wageningen, it's so Dutch that if you cross the border, nobody can pronounce it anymore. And I'm a very ambitious designer, so I thought like Novo Typo sounds like, yes, like jet set almost. So, first I start every presentation I do, I start with thanking to lots of people, because, you know, it's Novo Typo, it's me, but I never did all by myself. That's here, and in the middle you see them. You are here too.
Thank you.
So what do we do? I start with a small introduction about my work and about the things I do. I design prototypes, typefaces, but mainly I'm a graphic designer. I'm also educated as a graphic designer. And what do we do? I publish books, I write articles, and I do a lot of workshops because I really like to share my ideas and my knowledge. And that's why I like this size of group. So if you feel like this is very strange, or please feel free to interrupt me or ask questions. Then we can have like a chat, and I will not do the speaking all by myself. So you are invited to start with the collaboration with me. And but basically everything I do is type related. In a way you can say that my world is no bigger than 26 characters, and there are some extras like dots, commas, and things like that. But basically it's 26. And another thing is that I don't like perfection very much. Perfection is something like defined, and everyone is striving for perfection, but you never hear like, okay, no, I'm striving for something which is not imperfect or something. It's I'm very open during the design process. I'm very open to like happy mistakes, or well, maybe you have seen the sign here which I made this afternoon. I like amateurism very much, you know, it's like the beauty with someone which is not professionally, which is not a professional, and he tried to make something very nice, and it's like, but he's still an amateur. I think that's very nice and very beautiful. So in a way you can say perfection is a little bit boring. To make a long story short, it's like this, I like it, and there is something wrong. I'm always in search of perfect imperfection. And I found it a couple of years ago. I printed this poster. And if you have a proper look at this poster, as I think that there are many graphic designers here, everything is wrong in this poster. Like the spacing is very bad. It can be like modernism. And I think the S is flipped. And the serifs of the H are almost connected. But then I thought like, okay, when everything is wrong in this poster, why do I like it so much? So wrong can be right, in my opinion. And you're all invited to disagree with me, but I like it that way. So, and another thing is that I heard, a couple of years ago, I heard a very high profile type designer, and he's from Berlin. I heard him state that type designers traditionally think in black and white. And I thought like, is that true? Because you know, like, the world is in full color, the web is in full color, and Hollywood doesn't produce any black and white movies anymore. Only type designers continue to think in black and white. I thought, no, it should be. And another thing, when I made the Type and Color book, I had a discussion. I wrote a proposal for the publisher in mind, and he said, like, okay, whatever you do, if you write a book, you write a proposal, never ever start with Gutenberg. You know, it's people so incredibly boring, and people will leave and go to bar and so I will not start with Gutenberg, but I will start with two contemporaries of Gutenberg, Johann Fuchs and Peter Schöver, who printed just a couple of years after the famous 42-line Bible of Gutenberg. They printed this, the Mainz Psalter. And if you have a proper look at this, there's color everywhere. So I think this is very interesting. If you see this uppercase D, it's like multicolored, and it's like, can you even get more traditional than this? So the statement that traditionally type designers think in black and white, it's complete nonsense. It's only a way of, it's a modernist thinking, which did a lot of harm to graphic design, I think. So I have a lot of beautiful examples of multicolored typefaces of these two, only to show that I am right and he was wrong. So there's, through the ages, there's only color, and this is only to convince you that this very high-profile type designer from Berlin was right. was wrong, and I am right. And we will do this very quickly, because, you know, okay, now you should be convinced.
They are all beautiful.
Of course, they're all beautiful. Yeah, it's like, however, all these are typical examples of a very decorative way of using color and typography. It's all ways with beautiful inlines, outlines, drop shadows, but here is Cassandre, and he designed Bifour, and he's doing something completely else, and that's quite interesting because he's really constructing the basic shapes of a letter, and I thought, like, yeah, this is also very interesting, and he could be a very good friend of mine. So back to January 2015 to het GDA in Amsterdam, it's a grafisch werkcentrum. It's like they collect, it's a workshop, and they collect all these beautiful letterpress print shops. And I printed this poster, and I thought, yeah, this is so beautiful. This is the best I ever made, and it's made just in 15 minutes. And so this was the beginning of the Typewood project, where I thought, like, okay, if I really want to understand what I'm doing with the basic shapes of color, constructing, deconstructing them, I have to hold them in my head. So I started with sketching these typeface, what later became like the Pixa color typeface. It's and I thought that if I really want to understand, I need to make the letters myself, like an object which you can hold in your hand. So I thought, like, okay, I will make a wood typeface, which is based on separate layers. And I did a lot of research for typical, for different types of wood. And you know, a lot of wood was almost too perfect, but I already reached perfection because behind my computer, and if I do it in Illustrator or in Glyphs or something, you know, this Bezier curve, it's like perfect. It's very difficult to make like a beautiful scratch line. But if you, and this is a very important slide, because if you look this here, and I thought like this hairy beard of the O, and that's exactly what I was looking for, and I like this very much. This is like the perfect imperfection, which is a very successful experiment. So I tried to find the textility of the typeface again through letterpress. And I like letterpress very much. It's a very direct and very straightforward printing technique, and you can play with the pressure on it, and it's really like, you know, it's like we're talking about color, but this is black, and this is really like blacker than black. You can never have this. It's like the first black coffee in the morning. It's like it will hit you in the face. This type of thing. So I like this very, very much. So these are different material studies, and so here you see like the above one is the vectorized shapes and wood type, and in the middle you see the prints of the, and these little scratches of the C and the serif. That's exactly what I was looking for. So, and then I had to do some research, because how many A's or how many B's or how many C's you need to make a proper design, and this is some kind of how the complete font is organized. So I made all different types of layers, and this is the production part of a CNC router. It's halfway the process. And I thought this is one of the magic, to see your own typeface made out of wood. So this, at the end of the day, or 2 days or something, and this was 1/5 of the entire production. And we took this back to our studio, and we all have to hand polish them, and it was so much work. And this was a regular day at our studio at that time. We were so happy with all the interns who at that time came with us and helped us with that. This is typically, and that's also a little bit with the Offgrid project, if you start a project and you think before, like, will it be so much work, then you will never start it. But it's like, at the end it's nice, really. So this is very, very exciting moment. This is the first time that it was on the press. And yeah, fortunately, I didn't think about it. It was like black first. But yeah, it was. I think the can of ink was in front of the. So, but we started with these first test prints, and I was so amazingly happy with the results. And what I think is also important as a type designer is that you can make your own. When you do your own project, you can do whatever you want. You can make your own. Because in our language, we call the Dutch A. It's a very important letter. We call it the 27th letter of the alphabet. And at that time, our studio was very close to a beer brewery at A. And summertime, we have to go swimming in the river at A. So it's a very important one. And another one is that, you know, it's my clients, they will never allow me to print something black on black. You know, I have to press him or something. But so if you do your own project, you can experiment whatever you want. So that's why. And another thing which is well, concerning is a little bit like the word, but I see a lot of type designers and they make such a beautiful typeface, and then they make like their type specimen, and then they come up with like the quick brown fox jumps over. Well, it doesn't make any sense to me. I know that's why you should do it, but it's like, then you have the opportunity to write something about your typeface, and then you come up with something nonsense as the quick brown fox. So I thought like, I will do this a little bit different then, and I will make posters, I will design posters, and they will be like the type specimen for my typeface, and they are based on more or less like the CMYK color mode, and I will write down or make posters about how I think about typography and how is that you can read them as my personal opinion, my personal quick brown fox. So these are the declaration of deconstructed typography, which is like the type specimen, the quick brown fox for this typeface. little bit, well, you have to see them. You know. The typeface is available in Amsterdam in the workshop, so you are all invited if you're interested to come over to Amsterdam and yeah, to work with it. So, and again, we designed a specimen about the whole project. Very nice preface from him, and showing these the differences between the CNY tape offset and the multi-layered wood type ones. So this is Big Stack Color, and I thought like, oh, this is quite nice, and I really enjoyed playing around with all the different possibilities of layering and constructing and deconstructing the shapes of the letter. And because I was so convinced about the idea and about the potential idea, the concept of this whole, you know, I wanted to share it with so many people, as much people as possible. So in collaboration with Paul Nieskens, we designed a website, and you're all invited to come over to play and make the combinations you prefer and choose your color combination. And you can download the font for free as long as you're not using it commercially. So it's only for private or for students or something. Don't make your client happy with, oh, I found a free font. So. Okay, so, and then I made this design, and then I thought like, oh, this is so interesting because it's like, can I use color within an editorial context? And for, like, if I can construct a typeface with color, I can also deconstruct a typeface with color. So, this is complete common sense for me, and again, you're invited to disagree with me. So, I wanted to have, like, Big Sur obviously was designed for larger sizes, for like the same sizes as the Ziza files, or the Ziza typeface. I wanted to design a typeface for smaller sizes, to really use in an editorial context. So I started this whole type and color project, and I really was interested in, okay, can I bring back a typeface back to the basic shapes like circles, squares, and triangles, and use color with it? Or how can I construct and deconstruct basic shapes of color? I wanted to go from large type to smaller size. So, and again, this is complete common sense to me. So again, you're invited to disagree with me. This is logic. Okay, this typeface became Ziza color, and I'm still using it. It's one of it's my personal, like, probably, you know, if these designs and say, yeah, I only use Helvetica. Well, I only use Ziza for now. I'm so happy, and this color is it's opening so much possibilities. That in collaboration with Lisa Dreus, that she designed also a Cyrillic version of the multicolored Ziza. So all our friends from Russia, they can also use Ziza right now, and in full color. So this was the start of I thought like the Novo Typo color book, and I wanted to know more about the deconstruction and the decoration part, but also more about contrast and color theories. So I was trying to make my own color wheel, and I was interested also in the contrast theories of the Bauhaus and of the famous Bauhaus instructor Johannes Itten. And I tried to transform or translate the contrast theories of Itten into typography. I was interested in, like, if this is possible. This is really like the nerdiest part. I hope you can all with me. So these types of contrast transformed into typography. And what I also became interested in how can color can influence the patterning of a page or a website or something. So I was interested in how can color be usable for the optical corrections within the basic shapes of a character. And so basically what I found out is that there are 3 parameters for multicolor typography, and this is like font and point size, and style of multicolored, sort of contrasting form. Okay, examples like this. Or in contrast, of course, in color. So there are 3 types of contrast. This is more like my own result of the research which I did in the Novo Typo color book. And then I thought like, okay, this is interesting. Can I use because within my practice as a graphic designer, can I use multicolored letters within an editorial context? So normally, I don't know, as a graphic designer, you say that, okay, I have a typeface, and what do I do when I have to highlight a certain type of word or a sentence or a paragraph? I will use the bold version, or I will use the italic version of the typeface. I would propose that we now use the multicolored version of the typeface. So in a way you can say that, and maybe it will take, for me it's already there, but maybe for other people it will take 100 years, but color is the new bold, and color will be the new italic. So again, you're completely invited to disagree with me, but I think I predict you. It will be there. So, well, this became a color book, and well, you can. It's here. You can see it, and it's much better in real than on slides here. And what I like again is that there was a typeface which is casted in lead. The entire Ziza typeface, which is point 36, which is really like this. And we printed 4 pages in letterpress with the Ziza typeface. And drove the letterpress printer, well, drove him completely insane with this print job, but it's really beautiful. You should check it out. Here you see examples of even the caster. We start like, it's interesting. We can make new molds, and then we need to have 2 molds for every letter. So yeah, it's doable, but it's challenging to work with. Here you see some examples when it's printed. And what I like in letterpress, it's really, you can squeeze it with a lot of force into the paper, and then there is like, the ink is a little bit squeezed there, and you can never have this kind of typography on letterpress, on offset or something. This is really something which is so unique for letterpress, and I really like that. So, you're invited to come over to Amsterdam. It's also, Ziza, the lead is available for you to work with if you're interested. It's really about, I like that my work is when it's used, it should be used. You know, it's like I'm more interested in that other people will use it than selling a lot of licenses or something. So you can say that, okay, Mark, this is quite interesting, this is all theory. I have shown examples of my own practice as a graphic designer, how I use my own my typefaces and my color theories within the practice of my own work. So this is a book I made in collaboration with Chris de Smet and Erik Vernieuwen, stylist and a food photographer. I will show you now the typography, but we made this book for the Flemish Opera. This is one of the key things I designed. And this is a design I made for the three museums, in a museum in Amsterdam, Stedelijk, het Rijks en het Van Gogh Museum. And it was for a conference they had. So this is what I'm trying to say here, that it's like, for me, it's my theories are working. It's not only theory, you can actually use it within practice here. And this is I was invited by Schmid Verlag, Schmid Verlag, to share the ideas which I proposed in the earlier books, to make it like, okay, if you want to make your own typeface, and then you can, you can read it in books. So what I want to say is like, please, color will be the new bold, and color will be the new. So, and again, it's like the circle is wrapped. So, conclusion, I think that every presentation should have somehow, advice, conclusion. Type designers should think the COI, definitely not okay. And again, you're invited to disagree with me. So then I thought like, what should I do afterwards? This is like, 2.5 years ago, I thought like, what should I do? Because I noticed that all the theories of Johannes Itten, which I implemented for my work, were not like very suitable. So I thought maybe it's better to design my own contrast, or I would call it a harmony model for typography. And I also thought like, okay, if I can make my own letters, then I should also make my own paper, and I should also make it how its color is visualized. It's through ink, and if I really want to understand, like the same if I did with the letters, if I want to understand what I'm doing, I need to deconstruct them. So I need to deconstruct paper. I will put the fibers out of each other so I can understand what I'm doing. And I need to deconstruct ink. So I need to understand what I'm doing, and I need to put the pigments to see, to understand what I'm doing and how to visualize color. So this was the start of, really I thought like, okay, my studio, which is more or less like a very analog studio, it's based on 3 essential things like letters, paper and ink. These are the 3 cornerstones of my studio. So this was more or less like the Novo Typo Offgrid project. I wanted to design a self-sufficient. I didn't want to be. I wanted to be independent. I really tried to make it, to design it, to be in control of everything. So, and another thing which is always I thought like, which is quite shocking, is if you design a book and if you go to like a modern, very high industrialized printing press, it's like before the press is on color and everything is set up, it's a lot of paper goes on. And so this is, for example, I started to collect I think in Germany you call it Makulatur. And I started to collect the Makulatur of, like, for me, important projects, like the Type and Color book and book for the Flemish Opera. I started to collect them, and I thought, okay, I wanted to recycle. How can I recycle my own work? Because it's like basically when I think about my work, I never do something exactly completely new. It's always like somehow a continuation of an earlier project. So you always think about something you learned from an earlier project and you do it again. And you will practice it again, and then you will mix it with something new. So I felt like I can design something new, partly new, and something new. So I wanted to make my own paper, so how is paper made? The only thing I knew is that, okay, paper is made from wood, trees. So I went to the Amsterdam Stadshouse, they call it. Sorry. And I collected a tree, which is was something which is in Amsterdam West. Some trees need to cut down. I didn't cut it myself, right? It's not like, oh, this tree are actually. It needed to be cut down. So it's like, and they saw it there, and I took the sawdust over there and I mixed it with the maculature of the early projects. Sorry. And I did a lot of testing, really hands-on, making my own paper, and trying, if it's possible, to make my own paper. And I really like the whole idea about that you can see your snippets of your earlier projects. You can see mixed in the pulp. And there you have a stack of there. So this is, for me, it's like, oh, this is so nice. This is really and then I collaborated with two ladies of painting plants. And they have a beautiful garden in Amsterdam, and they make their own ink. And they teach me how to grow your own ink. So you can use, how can you make your own indigo, and how can you make your own madder use. So this is quite interesting because I was focused on 3 primary colors, but I wanted to make them, I wanted to grow them myself. It's like not going to I'm not interested in I wanted to be self-sufficient. So have my own garden with my painting plants and make it myself. So again, this is very like kitchen and doing a lot of sketching. So trying to with different binders and different pigments. And first I started with silk screening. This was during an artist in residency at Agala. So I was really trying to make my own ink because I found out that I wanted to make my own industrial standards. I wanted to make my own CNY. Okay, I am not interested in. I want to make Novo Typo RGB. And I want to completely design it yourself. I always thought that like in design, if you start up like Adobe is making you a little bit like a dumb designer. There's so many defaults in it. It's like, okay, if I start up, it's like, okay, it's A4. Yeah, okay, it's A4, but why is A4? It's like this whole industrialization makes you always a little bit like, why? I can make my own Dutch industry norm paper size system, and it's like, so I tried at least. So this is the first contrast. These are my contrast theories and my sizing system and my paper system. So then again, I thought like, no, silk screen is not really my printing technique. I like it very much, but it's not the impression, the pressure of the press, which makes that press so nice. So these are sketches. So and again, I thought, okay, but now I can be like an amateur. But if I really want to make something like this, which I can share with other people, then I collected a new tree with lots of sawdust, and I collaborated with, which is some kind of pre-industrial paper mill, and they mix, so partly new cellulose, and partly for 50% on a mill, they made prints. So, and then the lockdown came, and everything stopped. But in a way, I was like, what? Who cares? You know, because I can continue. You know, I have everything. I made it myself. You know, I have my own ink. I have my own. All the cornerstones of my studio were there. So it's like, you know, I don't need anything. And there's like the printer in China or in Hong Kong. You know, the paper from Scandinavia, which cannot be delivered anymore, or the ink from, I don't know, from any chemical factory. No, I can make it myself. So in a way, lockdown, yeah, I never stopped working. So in a way, it was a blessing, more or less professionally for me. These are some images from the Offgrid book. But I think it's very important that I can share the recipes about how color is working, about how to make ink and about how color is working. What personally fascinates me is that I wanted to make a new model for multicolored chromatic typography, which is based on, as a type designer, normally you speak about the weight of color, of a typeface, which is like a heavy weight or a lightweight. I wanted to do my research on the weight of color. And I think this is very interesting. Goethe already did some research in this, and I think it's quite fascinating. So I designed my own Amsterdam pulp paper, and this is an interesting picture. Then you can ask, like, okay, why do you or the back of the covers of the Novo Typo? Can you hand it over, or can you show it to us? Because it's there's. Okay. Yeah, no. Please show it, because it's you can the last page. The last page. Yeah. No. The orange one. Yeah. You see, it's rough. Yeah, the rough edge of the this one, yeah. Well, that's him. You know, he's one of the men who's working at the paper mill, and I thought, like, as a tribute to him, I will leave all the rough edges, all the deckled edges. I leave them all. So, and then I thought, like, okay, this is quite interesting, but in a way, this whole lockdown came as quite as a shock, because I don't know how it was in Berlin. But in Amsterdam, you know, all the soap in the beginning of the pandemic, all the soap was completely sold out. And, oh yeah, but I have dirty hands because it's my, you know, I make my own ink, so dirty hands. So then I thought, like, oh, okay, would it be possible to make my own soap? It's just for the hands, and I make my own Amsterdam hand scrub based on wood pulp soap. And it works out very fine. So everything is available in the book. Thank you so much for your And again, if we are allowed to travel again, and you are interested in letterpress printing, you go and come to visit Area, and they are all available to make your own print or do a workshop here. So, thank you very much.
Are there any questions?
Yes,
Yeah?
You showed your process, like it's like I think it's interesting that it's a difference between like your intuition and it's very systematic. Like, can you say like what is the ratio between those two?
Well, in a way, that's an interesting question. Yeah, I need to stay like very systematic because I'm not doing it for myself. You know, it's really I want to communicate with you and other people. So I need to have some kind of system in it to make it understandable and to share it with you. So that's how I work or how I get an idea. It's completely intuition. So my first initial idea is intuition, but I really, you know, it's like then it goes very strict, very Gründlichkeiten, and it's the same as here, I start here, and this is the first part, but it's very, it's not a scientific approach, but it's really like I need to do exactly.
It seems very scientific.
Oh, I consider that as a compliment, but I need to know what I'm doing, because otherwise, otherwise I can do anything, and then it's like then there is no fun. So in that way, I feel like I'm a designer. That the restrictions can make it better. I was only interested in the three primary colors. So I'm not interested in a beautiful color. Then it goes about my own taste, and my own taste is not important. It's like I want to make colors which people can use. So. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Thanks so much. One little material aspect was about recycling. And you recycle your paper and so on. Why did you choose for wood and not for clothes, for example? Because you could make paper from clothes, I guess.
Yeah, you can, yeah. Well, it has something to do with it's on my. Please.
Hi, I'm sorry.
You're late.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, too bad you missed it.
Yeah, me too. I felt the same.
No, I thought about textile, but it was like I'm interested in. Basically, I know that textile is much more expensive to recycle for paper than wood.
Okay.
And wood is much more, it was there, they didn't do anything with it. So it's really the rest of the rest materials. And I was interested into turning this, to upcycle this into something new. I knew that textile industry is also very, is having a lot of waste material, but all that waste material most of them is in India or China, and I wanted to keep it like in between like the city borders of. Everything is done within the proximity of our studio, So I really wanted to, if for example Novo Typo was close to a textile factory, then it should make sense. But there are lots of trees in Amsterdam, and 1% needs to cut down after a storm or anything, and then there is a tree. So it's like, it was there. The textile was not. Yeah.
I was wondering what role does the digital play in your idea of the self-sufficient design studio? Now this is very analog, very hands-on. What's the part of the digital?
Well, mainly I'm interested in digital because it opens a lot of opportunities for multicolor typography, because basically the whole idea of I showed you the historical examples of multicolor typefaces, but basically this new whole thing came years ago after the invention of Nokia for the emojis. So it's like if you can type your smiling face or your crying face or your heart and not all in color, then you can also type multicolor letters. And that was basically the idea of. So the roots, it is rooted in digital, but I'm interested in digital typography as a tool, but I wanted to see it in paper. I wanted to share it in paper. I like the tactility of paper. I think this paper is something completely different. Like 20 years ago, everyone used a floppy, and now you can use nothing anymore. So I can still read a book, the same book which is made 20 years ago. Digital is much more, it's unreliable. Wow, you're
invited to disagree. I don't trust these well, no, you work somewhere in the cloud and it's like I want to have it in my hands or in my bookshop. And I don't want to depend on companies like Adobe or Creative Cloud somewhere. I want to make it myself. And that's hard as a digital designer. You're always depending on so many things. For me personally, again, you're invited to disagree with me.
We've known each other for quite a long time. In the beginning, you were, I think, a designer who tried to get just outside what other people did. But some of it was just, digitally designing book covers. Then it went more adventurous, like this photographic cookbook that you made with somebody that had your own like a puzzle that was type.
Mm.
And then you entered the colors in type design and typefaces through those color fonts that were that you were able to get out before color fonts was a digital thing.
Mm-hmm.
Using pictures, making an alphabet of little digital pictures of flowers, stuff like that. But we discussed it also when I did the first article for I. They decided not to show them, which I found interesting. How do you think back of that period when digital was your instrument and things that were less digital than other people's things were at this step to where you are now?
Oh, but I'm still, sitting behind my computer almost all day. It's like, well, not all day, but this is all, the Ziza typeface which I use there. It's designed in the computer and it's CNC routed, phrased on a CNC router. So it's completely digitally routed, but I use it only as a tool. For this project, I really wanted to go back to the basics of my studio, which is like letters, ink, and paper. And so in a way, I see that computing for me is it's nothing more than a tool, and I use it where it's a good idea. It's the same like a printing press, I use it, or a letterpress here. I use it when it's a good idea. The only thing I see with the other projects is that I always wanted to make something out of which I thought that it's not there and I need it. So for the book covers, I need to make my own typefaces. I can use Helvetica, but it's not a Novo Typo book cover. It's like a Helvetica book cover. That's why I always thought that I really wanted to be a designer who gets a one-thing solution for one design. So that's the reason why I started to make my own typefaces. I am not interested in another. I think there are lots of very talented type designers, but there's too much of slightly different designs.
Yeah.
So, Ziza will probably, I'm so happy with it, and I like the use of it very much, so I don't see any reason anymore for now, maybe it will change within the next year or something, to make another one, to make something else. That's a little bit, yeah.
how I feel about it. Sure.
Yeah, just a quick question. Would you agree that we open the door that some other people can join the question answer part? Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah? So please. Yeah. Because I know there were some people who are. Is that okay? Is that okay? Can you start? I don't know yet, maybe. So,
This looks like
Okay.
infographic or something.
Yeah, no, well, it's more that these are just what I think it's important that I show how I do it. You know, I want to be completely open because I want to share my knowledge and I want to share how things are made. I like the construction part of a project. I like how something is, okay, I can open it and then I can see like, oh, this is interesting, how things are made. And these are just the color sheets I made, how I make my own ink. So there you can see my little notes, this is how, okay, this is probably some 4 parts of orange and 2 parts of yellow makes this kind of pigment. Yeah. So this is only the test sheets of the colors. Yeah. With that as a result. But basically, what I think is that the book is then the final result, and I really describe the entire process. But I am for this project and for the other projects, I am not that interested in about my own personal project, but more or less like I wanted to share my working progress with other designers and to collaborate somehow. You know, so it's like, okay, what will you do when you make your own ink, and how do you make your own paper, or what is interesting to when there is some kind of collaboration between concepts. And that's, so this is my concept, and you're invited to work with me. So, you know what I mean? And that's the reason why I'm open. It's sharing my way of working. Does it make any sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Thank you very much. I think we just do it more informally. We can continue. You're here, and we can, as I say, I'm really looking forward to you sharing really all your thoughts also in the workshops. Is anyone attending one of the workshops here? Ah, okay. Wonderful. So I'm also voting for.
Ah.
And all the books are here, and the paper, also the Amsterdam pulp paper, and also the text by So that's really so exciting. But you know, let's continue the question and think
Yeah, please feel free
Yeah.
to share a glass with me.
Yes.
You can ask something.